Good. Hey, I'm here with Dan Lofgren, Senior Vice President, Real Estate Advisory with Forte here in the Twin Cities. Dan is going to talk a little bit about some of the projects he's worked on, some of the acquisitions, and challenges and opportunities working with nonprofit clients. And Dan, first of all, welcome. How you doing
Thank you,
today?
Brian. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if you could just start out by talking a little bit about yourself, introducing yourself to our listeners, and
Yeah.
maybe tell us how you got into this line of work in commercial real estate.
Um, I um, I fell into the commercial real estate world kind of by chance. I've been in the industry for 20 years now. I can't believe it's gone that fast, but time flies, as we all know. I actually went to school at St. Cloud State University, and they had a real estate program there. And frankly, I was coming into my junior year and needed to determine which route I was going to go. And that summer, I worked at a residential developer in the Twin Cities. And I did mostly odd jobs, worked in between subcontractors and different uh, homes that were being built. And while I was doing it, I thought, man, this is kind of a fun job. I mean, these guys get to drive around all day. They're building new projects. They're outside all the time. And I was always kind of intrigued by the tangible asset of real estate itself. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go into that. And that's really how it started. I graduated from the real estate program in St. Cloud. I heard a ton of good things about United Properties when I was there, which is a well-known full service real estate company here in the Twin Cities at the time, full service. And I just applied for a job there as an assistant property manager. And that's how I got my start.
Excellent. And so where did you go from there? Did you?
I I worked as a property manager for about 4 years. And had the desire to transition into brokerage. Just it felt like a better fit for my personality. I was always intrigued by working on transactions and working with potential tenants and users and businesses, and transitioned into brokerage while I was at United Properties. So when I transitioned into brokerage, I did mainly industrial sales and leasing and representation work when I was there. So really been in the industrial world ever since. So
Mhm.
um, since that time, it gave me a great. I would tell you about property management as a great training ground for any young professionals that are looking to get into our industry. It really is a great training ground to transition into something outside of property management, because it gives you a holistic view of the operations of the properties, the relationship between tenant and landlord, um, demands by both sides, and really operations. So it really did help my transition into brokerage, and was happy I did it. So
Okay. And tell us a little bit more about Forte and how long have you been on the Forte team?
yeah, I have been with Forte since its inception about 2.5 years ago. We actually merged Excelsior Advisory, which was part of the Excelsior Group, and Paramount Real Estate. And we brought both of those organizations together about 2.5 years ago. And prior to that, I was at Excelsior Group for 5 years. So in total, it'll be 7 years, with 7.5 years with most of the same constituents here that were at Excelsior Advisory. But then we were able to add some additional services through Paramount that we didn't provide at Excelsior Advisory. And Forte now is a service provider on the real estate services side that provides advisory work for tenants, buyers, users of real estate. Uh, leasing, project management, lease administration, and Paramount also did property management, which we didn't do. So it was another service that we could provide clients. So today we have a growing property management group, project management, lease administration, and advisory.
Okay, and how many people are on your team there?
Currently now, I think we're up to about 25, 26 folks. I should know that, but we did just make a couple new hires recently. I think we're up to 26, maybe even 27. But I'd have to double check on that. I can check my numbers after the meeting and follow up.
Okay, and do you focus primarily on the Twin Cities area, Minnesota?
Yeah, I would consider us a local service provider, in terms of more of a boutique. I would say high service, high touch, real estate service company. Majority of our clients are locally based. However, we do a decent amount of work outside of the Twin Cities as well, for clients that maybe have needs outside of the Twin Cities, which will help serve in that platform as well. But primarily, we are a local service provider here in the Twin Cities, and happy to be that. So that we kind of felt like there was a niche there to be served within our market, as a real high level service provider in the Twin Cities. And with a lot of the consolidation of the larger brokerage groups over the last handful of years, we really felt like there was a need for that. And I think that a lot of our customers would say the same. So I think it's been a really good fit for us, and we're really excited about it.
Okay, and one project I want to ask you about, we recently wrote about an acquisition you worked on for Every Meal in
Yeah.
Roseville on Patton Road. Tell us a little bit about that and how you're able to work with them to meet their needs.
Yep. So we have been doing work for Every Meal for a couple of years now, actually a few years. We had helped them expand in their current leased location in Roseville. And, a couple of years ago, and this is really from the direction of its founder, Rob Williams. He foresaw the need of, one, controlling their operating expenses and their real estate spend, and wanting to have a control of that so that they could be sustainable in the future to continue to fight child hunger, which is really their mission.
Mhm.
And he had the foresight to understand that if we were to come up with a new lease renewal in our current building, which was acquired by a large institutional investor, and that was actually through a lot of the conversations we had, that their rents, which were pretty well below market at the time, were likely to raise significantly.
Hmm.
And 3 years ago, he said, you know what, I want to make this a real possibility for us to do, so that we can stay sustainable as an organization. And really, what the biggest benefit for nonprofits is the ability to become tax exempt in the event you are an owner, and through fundraising efforts, private donors, and then also through some grants that were available through the state. And then actually with the recent legislation that was passed, they were able to raise enough money to be in a position to acquire the property. So we had reached out to the existing landlord, who is really, most landlords, especially on the industrial side, are very hesitant to sell right now, because it's a product type in high demand. However, we had reached out to them far in advance and kind of set expectations with both parties. And they also, this particular landlord also was into what definitely charitable giving as part of what Every Meal does, is a big part of their organization as well. So that definitely helped. But through that process, over the last 6-9 months, we were able to help acquire the property. So it turned out to be a great situation for the owner and for the seller, and we were happy to be a part of it.
Okay, sounds like a good deal for a great organization with a great
Yeah,
cause.
it was. And frankly, they actually do have another tenant in the building that's also a nonprofit. And part of being a nonprofit, if you are leasing from another nonprofit, you can actually get that tax benefit as well. So
Nice.
so they're able to receive the benefit of that as well. So that is something that I think a lot of nonprofits strive for. But I also think that Rob was very strategic, and he was also very persistent in his efforts to help make that a reality. And, my hat's off to him to help to do that.
Okay. So would you say in summary, there are tools available now to help
Yeah.
other nonprofits, I guess, achieve their goal of owning versus
Yes.
leasing?
And there are a number of different foundations that definitely support that ownership structure. And really it's uncovering those partners out there and taking the time to go out and find those partners. But yes, there are different foundations and partners that are more than willing to do that if there is a plan in place. And it's a viable plan and a business plan that's put in place for the organization, that they are willing to participate, and he was able to do that.
And have you worked with other nonprofits on similar
Yeah,
deals?
yeah, we have. And, I think the needs of nonprofits are not uncommon to the needs of for-profit organizations and companies, which is what we do majority of our work with. But in our experience, it's really having the vision and the strategic planning in place to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best position possible. Either if you have an upcoming lease expiration, for example, is always a natural opportunity to reevaluate your real estate, and having a strategic plan much well in advance of when that lease expires. And I would say, Brian, that's probably the biggest difference that's occurred over the last, particularly 5 years, because of all of the constraints that we had with supply chain issues, particularly on the industrial side, which is where I do majority of my work, is on the industrial side. So office, warehouse, engineering, manufacturing, distribution, those uses and the demand for that product type has been so high over the last handful of years. And because of the lack of supply tied with constraints with either new product getting delivered in time, it's really forced people to try to make decisions earlier. And I think historically most companies would say, yeah, we have a lease expiring in the next 6-9 months, and we'll kind of take a look at it when it comes up at that point in time. And frankly, it's just not enough time. I mean, it's not uncommon now. We're 18-24 months out, really trying to take a good look to understand what it is, the needs that we have, and trying to come up with a plan in place.
Hmm. And in general, how challenging is it to pencil out these projects now, given the interest rate environment and all the challenges there? And
Yeah,
you see
yeah. I think,
improvement there?
yeah, that is, it's really a combination of, the rising interest rate environment that we've seen here over the last 12 to 18 months.
Mhm.
And particularly for industrial development,
Mhm.
developers right now who will typically build to call it a basis point, 100 basis point spread so that they can actually pencil it out, is not there right now, because they've lost all that in the rapid interest rise over the last 12 to 18 months. So most of the new development that we'll see on the industrial side over the next, I would say 12 months, is really going to be either pre-leased or build-to-suit. We're not going to likely see much new speculative development here in 2024
Mhm.
because of that. And I also think that tied in with the fact of construction costs how they have risen quite dramatically over the last few years, has really made the occupier or the tenant or the user really try to look further out if they can, because it's forcing longer lease terms in a lot of situations because of those higher costs. So no one has a crystal ball, obviously, but if you can try to have some foresight and planning in place, it's only going to help you when you're at that point for either a renegotiation of your lease, or to be in a position where you're ready to pull the trigger on a potential large acquisition.
Mm-hmm. And just to go back a little bit, you said you went to St. Cloud State
Yeah,
at their real estate program, and so are you from that area, from Minnesota, or?
I'm from the Twin Cities, so I grew up in Cottage Grove area,
Mm-hmm.
and all my family's here in town, and have been a lifer in Minnesota, and that's for the foreseeable future. I don't see myself going anywhere else other than being here, dealing with
Right.
the drastic changes in weather and temperature as we like to see here.
Yeah, it's just wild what's been
Isn't
going
it
on.
been? Yeah, it's been nuts.
But yeah, well, Dan, do you have any other thoughts before I let you go? Any other deals you're working on, or just general observations about the market?
No, I think we are at least on the industrial side. I think we are seeing a stabilization occur here in 2024. We had gone on this unprecedented run of large annual increases of rental rates, construction pricings, values, coming out of 2020, 2021, out of COVID. And I think those it was not sustainable for that to continue. And I think the interest rate rises helped slow that down. And I think we're going to get back to more of a stabilized market now, more of a traditional market. And overall, the fundamentals are still strong. But I would say that for the clients that I've worked with over the past, couple of years that have either consolidated or relocated, it's really planning, 18, 24 months in advance.
Hmm.
Because everything's taken a little bit longer to get done. And I couldn't stress it enough when you come up to that point. So yeah, that's really what we're here for, is to work with our partners and help our partners put them in a good position to make a good business decision when that time comes. So
Hmm. Great. Well, interesting conversation, Dan. Thanks for your time. Hopefully we can connect again in the not too distant future.
sounds good. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thanks.